This program contains graphic material, including offensive language. Viewer discretion is advised. Salt Lake City, Utah was founded by a religion seeking freedom. But looks can be deceiving.
Denial's part of the problem. We need to own up to it.
Hey, if you want to pop off again, I'll take your brother to jail on a small warrant.
Today, it's under siege, terrorized by a gang whose agenda is simple: to be the baddest around.
It's all about the do or die. You know, as a group, we either going to do it or we're going to die.
The whole goal in Salt Lake City is who's got the hardcore name.
We don't play around over here.
It's a dual life where thugging and religion collide.
Part of going to church was socializing with all your other compadres, with all the other homies.
Some of these kids carried the Book of Mormon with them while they were out there gangbanging.
And few believe it exists.
Crips are black. All you have in Utah is Mormons, and Mormons couldn't possibly be Crips.
Here, only one thing is sacred.
Shot at people, jumped on people, stabbed, robbed.
The religion of Crippin'.
The greatest influence and power in street gangs is Crippin'. It's just to Crip to the fullest. Gangland.
Salt Lake City, Utah, July 23rd, 1992. It was the eve of the state's biggest holiday, Pioneer Day. Thousands of people flooded the downtown area, eating, drinking, and setting off fireworks, anticipating the next day's parade.
It's actually a state holiday where we celebrate when the pioneers came into Utah and said, this is the place.
Hidden among the crowds were members of the Crips.
We all just was just out there kicking it. You know, there was probably about 400 of us.
Miles Kinnikini, a.k.a. Mr. C, of the Tongan Crip Gang, or TCG, was feeling no pain.
I was pretty lit up. I had probably about 4 hits of acid. I had a whole fifth of Black Velvet. I was gone, but I knew what I was doing.
Through the haze of the party, Mr. C noticed a group from a rival Crip set scoping him out from across the street. TCG members had murdered 3 of their boys weeks earlier. Their presence meant one thing: retaliation.
I had a .357 in my pocket, and it was a big, dirty Harry. In fact, my pants, I'm already sagging, and my pants is about falling down because I'm trying to conceal it.
Within seconds, the festive atmosphere turned to one of terror.
One of the dudes stepped up on side and shot the gauge. You know, they were shooting it in the air, just saying, we're gonna kill you. We're gonna kill a Tongan tonight. We're gonna kill a Tongan. That hit me wrong.
Mr. C pulled the .357 from his pants.
Went out there, got on my knees. Boom, 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 boom.
In a hail of gunfire, the city's idyllic facade had been shattered. Salt Lake City is known as the gateway to world-class ski resorts and is the home to the Mormon Church. Founded in 1847 by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, it is perceived as white, conservative, and squeaky clean. The last place you'd expect to find gangs.
We probably have an average, at least probably 2 gang-related drive-by shootings or attempted homicides on a week.
Close to 300 gangs call this valley town home, from the Bloods to the Sureños. Among them are an estimated 1,000 Crips, divided into numerous sets. They're motivated by one thing: reputation.
I'm terrorizing everywhere. It's not about money here. Here it's just simply about who's got the hardest name and who is known for being the most violent individual.
My enemies, they're like the Bloods.
The Salt Lake Crips rivalry isn't just with other gangs. They won't hesitate to go after their own.
You'll get the Crip on Crip, Sureño on Crip, you'll get Norteño on Crip. The Crips will battle with Crips or anybody else.
It's a vicious competition that 34-year-old Mr. C has excelled at.
He established himself as probably one of the most notorious gang members in the Tongan Crip gang. And he was very good at it. He lived and breathed the gang lifestyle.
I mean, we kick a dude on the ground hoping that he die, not just to beat him up, but to stomp on his head and hopefully cause death.
Mr. C was born in Salt Lake City's tight-knit Polynesian community. He was raised by Tongan parents with strong family values, but started banging when he was in the 3rd grade.
We just fell out of necessity. It was important that we stuck together.
The gang came together to fend off attacks by Latino gangs, such as the Cholos. They were also unified by their religion. Like many Crips in Utah, Mr. C was raised as a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
We had to live a double life. On Sundays, we'd be at church, and the rest of the week, we'd be claiming C. You know what I'm saying?
The church preaches its gospel, but the Crips have their own.
It's all about the do or die. You know, as a group, we either gonna do it or we're gonna die. We got a motto, why fight and get dirty while we can shoot and keep clean? It's just we watch each other's back. It's a brotherhood.
Mr. C has the battle scars to prove his dedication to the brotherhood.
This right here, it was a beer bottle cracked in half. A dude came up from behind. One of my boys yelled out. I moved and he just sliced me right there. It was about, I think it was about 22 stitches. And then the stab here was at Liberty Park. Just got in a rumble with 8-Ball Posse. They got me pretty good. Right there you got the hood, Tom Crip, gangster, TCG for life.
While many Salt Lake Crips, like Mr. C, are of Polynesian descent, they recruit from all ethnicities.
We're all diverse. Polynesians, like I said, Hispanics, white, Native Americans, Asians. You ain't gotta be from a certain race to be down, you know what I mean? Everybody has heart.
The key is to be willing to throw down and make your set the most feared.
We wanna see who the biggest dog on the block is. Everybody wants to be the biggest Crip gang here.
31-year-old Sugar Bear grew up in San Diego. His mom shipped him to Salt Lake to keep him out of trouble.
That didn't work. Like 6 months later, I was facing aggravated robbery with a gang enhancement. I did time as a youngster, so just being a gangbanger has always wanted to be what I wanted to aspire to be. I didn't have goals or nothing like that in life. That was my main goal, was to be a gangster, go to prison.
Sugar Bear's nickname was given to him by his mother as a term of endearment when he was a baby. He helped found another Crip set called the Lalo Crips when he was just 15 years old. Though he spent 14 years behind bars, he has no regrets.
A lot of people I know where to belong to, so this is something, you know, this is someone, you can always have somebody there for you.
Sugar Bear views being a gangster as a way of life, something to take pride in.
You gotta look nice in the office. You can't just go there with your pajamas on, so when I step on the streets, I gotta look good for the office. I gotta have creases, gotta make sure that, you know, you gotta look swell.
And job number 1 is to take out the enemy.
Hopefully you catch an enemy slipping. I mean, for me, if I catch a slob slipping, then it's on and cracking.
Sugar Bear has been shot at several times, but has yet to be hit.
I'm lucky. I'm a big target, too, so those fools must suck, huh?
His body bears the marks of a life spent banging and fighting.
I was getting into it with 6 of them, and I guess they didn't like the odds, so they hit me with a baseball bat.
His ink makes it clear who his enemies are.
The beast crossed out just to disrespect Bloods more, means blood killer. I got 187 down the middle. It's a California code for a murder. And it says love don't live here, because I don't love none of them. I don't love none of those guys. And then on both my eyebrows, just in case they couldn't read good enough, I spelled it out for them, B, then K.
This violent streak is nothing new for the Crips. Their history is steeped in bloodshed, and their lives are rooted in violence.
We ain't out there trying to move forward the community. We ain't trying to build no Boys and Girls Club. You know what I'm saying?
Salt Lake City, the beautiful home of the Mormon Church, and the gateway to some of the Rocky Mountains' best ski resorts. It's a stark contrast to the drive-by shootings, drug deals, and robberies of gangs like the Crips. Yet within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or LDS, these two worlds are strangely intertwined.
Most of us grew up in a pretty strong LDS faith, and part of going to church was socializing with all your other compadres, with all the other homies.
Salt Lake City may seem like an unlikely place for gangbanging, but the church inadvertently brought the problem right to its own doorstep. In 1847, Brigham Young led a group of Mormons to the Salt Lake Valley, a place they viewed as the Promised Land. The city and the religion grew, and by the turn of the 20th century, the church was seeking new converts. Taking a page from Western Christian missionaries, they started their conversion efforts in the South Seas. After founding branches in Hawaii and New Zealand, they moved on to Tonga and Samoa. The Polynesians responded to the Mormons' message of values and faith and converted in large numbers.
If you go back to the islands, they're very big into the religion and family. The religion that probably reflects family values and more of a sense of community is the LDS religion, and I think that's something that they're attracted to.
The 1970s and 80s saw a surge in Polynesian immigrants to the U.S. They were searching for a better life and settled in Los Angeles. At the same time, gang life was taking hold in Southern California.
They didn't know anything about gangs, you know. They didn't know anything about what society really is here.
By the 1980s, many of the families that settled in California were fleeing to Salt Lake City to be closer to the cornerstone of their faith, and in an attempt to keep their kids out of gangs.
Families were moving from other states or sending their kids here to avoid the gang violence in California.
They weren't the only ones who thought the city was the antidote to their problem. It turned out Salt Lake was no safe haven.
In the process of doing that, what have they just done? They've transplanted their families here and brought that danger in the form of their children and what they have learned to Salt Lake City.
In 1987, Salt Lake law enforcement saw the first evidence that gangs like the Crips had arrived.
The first gang members that we knew about here in the Salt Lake area were, in fact, Crips. The first recognition that we had a gang problem here was graffiti that was P as in Paul, V as in Victor, C as in Charlie, Park Village Crips out of Compton.
My first tattoo when I was 11 years old stands for Long Beach Crip Gang.
33-year-old Dez is one of those transplanted Crips. He remembers his first impressions of the city.
I called the homeboys. I was like, man, you won't believe it. The schools don't have a fence. They don't have cameras. Roll up to a Taco Bell. There's no bars over here. It was lovely down here. To me, this was like a fairy tale. When I told the homeboys, it's like you read in the books.
To Salt Lake City youth, Dez was like gang life come alive.
Everybody was fascinated by, you know, me banging and being a Crip and coming from Long Beach. You know, you tell a little stories like, yeah, you know, we rode on this hood, and when I told them my story, they was fascinated by that.
While the 80s rolled on, gang members poured into Salt Lake City from the West Coast. A federally funded vocational program that catered to disadvantaged and troubled kids only brought more Crips to the area.
They were at least bringing kids in from all around the country, the Crips, Bloods, Hispanic gang members. They would come out here to Utah, regale our kids with stories about being gangsters in LA.
When I was 12 years old was where I got shot, right across the street from my house, probably about 30 feet from the house.
Our kids ate it up.
All 3 times I got shot is when I was 12 years old.
The gang culture was seductive, and kids like Kaisa Kinakini, Mr. C's cousin, couldn't get enough of it.
When I was in 7th grade, 6th grade, you know, in my mindset, I wanted to be a gangster. That's what I saw on TV, what I saw the older cousins doing. I thought, oh, that's my life. They had all the girls, you know, the fancy stuff.
By 1989, there were at least 30 gangs boasting hundreds of members in the Salt Lake area. and their numbers were growing. Bloods, Hispanic gangs, and Crips could be found on the streets. Salt Lake was becoming treacherous. That year, the city formed the Metro Gang Unit. The unit was made up of 5 people. Ron Stallworth, one of the founding officers, knew that times had changed.
And I can remember very distinctly us sitting in the car when the call came over, drive-by shooting. We had never heard the term before. Utah had finally moved up in the world. We had a drive-by shooting.
The city was changing, but its Mormon roots ran deep.
Some of these kids even went so far as to carry the little pocket version of the Book of Mormon with them while they were out there gangbanging. And I would question them as to how can you carry that religious text in your hip pocket in one side of your backside, and on the other side carry your blue flag, and they would look at me and they would say, because I separate the two.
Mr. C was one who traveled in both worlds.
I'm a church guy, you know what I'm saying? But don't take me wrong, don't think I'm soft. Because you come trying me, you're gonna get yours. I guarantee you, you're gonna get busted in the face. Get a cap in you. You know what I'm saying?
The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints saw the contradictions as disheartening developments.
It is a big problem if they do not see a disconnect between their lives and their religion. Because the gospel of Jesus Christ that we teach and that should be taught in the home and should be taught in all of the church activities is a gospel of peace.
Some Crips gave up the church for the streets.
I couldn't put religion and Cripping together. They at the club drinking, but they were doing whatever comes with party and all that, and then next thing you know, they're going to church and they're pretty strong about it. My religion is Crip.
If I was doing straight, I was doing straight. If I was doing bad, I wouldn't mix both lives together, you know what I mean?
Salt Lake City's new gang culture brought with it a few inevitable side effects. And the Crips were in the middle.
As soon as meth hit Utah, it was a wrap. You meet so many people that's hooked on that. It's got so many people up out here where they turning on each other. Their own family member, own brother, you know, mom and dad.
I graduated from gangbanging to drug dealing.
Not all of the Crips were dealing.
I was trying to make money, and then in the process, I got hooked on that meth.
The rise of the drug trade brought more robberies and assaults. With the streets getting more dangerous, the Crips armed themselves with high-tech weapons.
When I first come down here, thought they was going to war in Iraq or something with all this they had. You got your SKS, your AK-47. My Asian homeboy out here had the rocket launcher, your MAC-10s. I was like, damn, y'all strapped like that?
To the Crips, anything was an opportunity to gain respect on the streets.
Robberies is a very big, with the Crips. They'll either shoot the clerk or they'll use force or punch them and beat them so bad and just make them fear them. Fear implies respect, and that's what they want.
Administrators were saying, keep it quiet, because we don't really want people to worry that we have this gang issue that's happening.
The violence escalated, yet the city was in denial.
The response was always, it couldn't possibly happen here. We're Utah. We're very pure. We're very pristine. We have this strong moral family value system. Everything you're speaking of couldn't possibly happen here because we're raised differently.
Law enforcement outside of Utah echoed those thoughts. When Sergeant Stallworth and the gang unit sought advice from outside the state, they heard this.
And Crips are black. All you have in Utah is Mormons, and Mormons couldn't possibly be Crips.
The Salt Lake Crips were nowhere near the magnitude of their LA counterparts, yet their determination to make a name for themselves created a volatile competition.
These guys can be more dangerous in a lot of circumstances. There is a hierarchy that is established pretty much just by who's got the baddest name and is willing to show everybody else that they're going to be the one in charge.
There is more of a pressure to make your name here, because I was all about putting the hood on the map, showing them what TCG's all about and what we roll like.
Sugar Bear was also down for the cause.
Just putting it down to the fullest. Outdo each other. Try to outdo the other homie. He said, what's he doing? Oh, yeah, he blasted on 2, I'm gonna blast on 3. You know what I mean?
In the 90s, Sugar Bear was in and out of jail for various weapons charges. He also developed a specialty.
I've always been a rob kind of guy. You know what I mean? When there's always heat around, there's always straps. So the fastest way to get money is to get you a gun, go out there and just take somebody else's money. A man from the age of 16 to 60 is an open target.
By 1993, parts of Salt Lake felt like a war zone, and the Crips were at the center of it.
90s was popping. In fact, going to sleep, it was rough. We were going to sleep with gunshots going on. That was crazy.
It blew up to a point where people just didn't know what to do with it.
The city continued to deny its problem until one crime shocked it to its core. September 1st, 1993. 17-year-old Aaron Chapman and his niece Monica were stuck in traffic after a concert in downtown Salt Lake.
It was a beautiful, beautiful autumn night. It was warm. You can drive with your windows down.
Ossie Mohi, a member of the Crips, was in the parking lot with his crew. They spotted Aaron, who was wearing red, the color of their rival, the Bloods.
And they went to Aaron's window first, and they said, "What's up, cuz?" And that's when one of them slugged my brother on the side of the face and started just punching him.
In seconds, Mohi and his crew pulled Aaron out of the car and began pounding on him.
Monica saw a boy from out of the corner of her eye grab like a fence post that had concrete on it, and they were going to throw it on Aaron, you know, and crush him or kill him with this pipe. So Monica threw herself on top of Aaron.
Mohi grabbed Monica and punched her, then threw her into the car. He then pulled out a gun and pumped a single shot into Aaron's chest.
He looked at Monica and he says, "Monica, I've been shot." And he collapsed.
The phone rang. They said, "Your son's been in an accident." I assumed a car accident. What else would you think? I didn't get to say goodbye. He left.
Aaron Chapman's death struck close to home for many.
The news comes on, and then it's breaking news.
A 17-year-old is dead after what police describe as a gang shooting in front of the Triad Center in Salt Lake City. Police say Aaron...
A shooting downtown, gang-related. There was a loss of life, and you just go, oh, God.
People could relate to the fact that it could have been them attending the concert, or it could have been a member of their family. It could have been their child.
Mohi, a high school football star, was arrested and pled guilty to manslaughter. Instead of attending college on a football scholarship, he would spend the next 15 years behind bars. Salt Lake City now realized its gang problem had to be addressed.
I'm gonna tell you this, a bullet's gonna kill you just as fast here as it will in LA, in Philly, in New York. It doesn't matter. Come try us. You want a piece of this? Come here, come try us. See what we about. We'll let you know.
Salt Lake City, Utah sits in an idyllic valley, but it has a dirty little secret. Up to 1,000 Crips call this Utah Valley home. The murder of Aaron Chapman had shattered the city's innocence and put pressure on the Metro Gang Unit. The outfit, founded in 1989, is still out on the streets battling the city's gangs.
I like to work the worst of the worst people, and can't get any worse than gangsters with guns, so.
Brett Miller is a detective who spends his shift on the streets dealing with bangers. He's responding to a call where a group of Crips have been pulled over for a traffic violation. The crew is flying their trademark blue.
Somebody dropped their blue do-rag right out the window there.
What are you guys up to tonight? Do you have any weapons on you? Can I check you for weapons? Cool. Just do me a favor and step right back over here.
This young gangster tells us why he's chosen to live the Crippin' life.
Just big and strong. And we're just beautiful. sell drugs, we rob people, rob stores, kill, a lot of stuff.
Crips in Utah are no less dangerous than their California counterparts.
They're not afraid to shoot at people. They're not afraid to be violent.
What do they call you?
Don't let me catch you off guard, because I catch you off guard, I'm gonna smack you. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna smack, I'm gonna shoot you, I'm gonna blast you, I'm gonna do whatever I need to do to handle my business. If you got beef with me, stay alert.
Yeah, our Crips up here and all of our gangs up here are extremely unpredictable. You never know what's gonna set them off, and you never know what they're gonna let slide.
The Salt Lake City Crips are unpredictable, but they do follow a street code. There is one instance where they will always let rivals off the hook.
If I caught someone slipping and they was with their wife and their kids, I would give them a pass. Probably let them know that I caught his ass slipping, but yeah, I'll give him a pass.
If he's with the fam, you gotta let it go. You gotta let it slide. You don't disrespect them like that. That's a rule on the streets. You just don't do that. But I'm gonna tell you this. If you're gonna disrespect me while I'm out with my family, handle your business. Make sure that I ain't breathing. Because if I'm still breathing by the time you get done with me, you're done.
This rule doesn't apply if a Crip stumbles upon a rival who is alone.
We at any public place, if we see a slob, if we see an enemy, we gonna handle our business right there. We gonna handle it. We proud who we are. We don't fear nobody. You know what I'm saying?
What do you got on your arm there?
The Crips take pride in terrorizing Salt Lake, and their ink proves it.
The gang members out here, especially the Crips, they're proud that they're from Salt Lake. They put the 801 area code on them. So it shows that they're a Crip gang from Salt Lake.
The gang unit monitors the Crips constantly.
Yeah, this is the heart of their area. If you look, do you see the 104 right there on the post of the bridge? That's them claiming this area.
The numbers 104 are the last 3 digits in the neighborhood zip code.
They'll come back over into this bench area and hang out quite a bit, and then sometimes they'll just take off from here and go put in their work. All along here, they're just kind of naming which families come down into this area.
Unlike most gangs, these Crips are not territorial.
And then a little further down.
This means they can be found in almost any neighborhood.
Rose Park Family is another Polynesian gang that's up in the Rose Park area. And then right back in here, you can see them tagging up, but this is still part of their turf with the TCG.
Our Crips can actually go from one area to the other and be just fine. So it's not just one area that they're exclusive to.
Bang, the life out here is different. There's no set territory.
These guys are always moving around. They're not as territorial like California.
Those fluid boundaries can create problems.
It's a little rougher in Salt Lake. When you in LA, this block is this set, this block is this set, and if you cross the lines, you're gonna get it. Where over here, you could have a rival gang member live a block down, and if they catch you slipping, you're done.
The Crips bond is based strictly on set membership. The gang becomes the most important thing in the lives of its members, even above their own families.
Once they get involved in the gang lifestyle, it really becomes about the gang and less about the family. It wouldn't matter if the person that they were shooting at was a member of their family in terms of being a cousin, because it was all about the gang at that point.
Like their homies in LA, Salt Lake Crips communicate using a special language. Out of disrespect for their rival, the Bloods, Crips will replace the letter B with a C.
You say back, you say cack, you kick cack. I say, I'll see you back later or whatever, I'll see you cack.
I used to talk like that when I was younger, but real society, you can't talk to people like that. They look at you all mystified, like, what is wrong? Is this kid retarded?
They also have a special way of writing.
Every time you write a B, you make sure you cross that out, BK. You got TC there, that's for Tone Crip.
Hand signs unique to each Salt Lake set are thrown as greetings to each other and to taunt rivals. To prove their mettle, Crips are initiated by jump-ins.
I got quartered in. You get smashed by other homies. That just shows that you're willing to fight back if you're ever getting jumped or something.
What sets the Salt Lake Crips apart from Crips across the country is their faith.
A lot of them that are involved are going to church Sunday and worshiping, but on Friday night, Saturday night, they're out involved.
I've even arrested kids that were out all night doing beer run robberies.
You twisted tonight.
And they're completely intoxicated, and they're asking, how long is it going to be? Because they have to go to church and fulfill their church duties.
It is troubling to hear of reports of someone that thinks they can be faithful to the church and also be faithful to a gang. They're not understanding the principles that underlie both of those organizations.
Their Sunday best is replaced the rest of the week by khakis, a white t-shirt, and a pair of Chuck Taylors. The Crips almost always add some blue, but some fly their colors more boldly.
I like blue, so I decided to become a blue fan. I mean, I really didn't like red whatsoever. It made me look kind of gay.
This 19-year-old has been a Crip for more than 2 years.
I just like being a Crip, you know what I mean? I always admired Crips. Why? Because I admire Snoop Dogg. I want to become a Crip, too.
His commitment to Crippin' is serious.
We don't play around over here. You know what I mean? It's kind of serious what we do. Being a Crip out here, it's like kind of gaming, it's playing with your life.
Salt Lake City law enforcement know how perilous it is. It's the eve of the 2008 annual Pioneer Day celebration. The gang unit is out in force.
People are camping out in preparation for the parade. A lot of family members are down here, and families, but it attracts a lot of gang members and problems. Usually later on in the night, they'll come out and start cruising in their cars and flying their colors and start fighting with each other. Yeah, we're expecting problems here tonight.
The problems associated with Pioneer Day have been an issue since 1992, when Mr. C became synonymous with terror.
I just thought that my life was in danger, my boy's life was in danger, the hood's life was in danger. So I just went out there and handled business, because that's how I run things.
July 23rd, 1992. It was the night before Pioneer Day, and hundreds of people lined the streets of downtown Salt Lake City. The Crips were there too. After ingesting 4 hits of acid and downing a 5th of Black Velvet whiskey, Crip OG, Mr. C, was wasted.
I knew what I was doing, just a little sloppy, but I still knew what I was doing.
After a rival gang fired threatening shots in the air, Mr. C unloaded his .357 Magnum. The streets erupted in chaos.
We all just bounced. We knew the heat was gonna be there. I mean, obviously, I'm thinking too that, I probably hit some innocent people, or I probably hit them.
No one was hit, but Mr. C made headlines. A photographer from the local paper, the Salt Lake Tribune, caught his rage on film. Mr. C was a wanted man.
He was on the run. He ended up calling the gang unit. He ended up saying, that was me. I did it.
Mr. C was convicted of assault with a deadly weapon and sentenced to 2 years behind bars. Life on the inside was not what he expected. While the Crips in jail showed him respect, his homies on the outside never did.
When I got in there, none of my boys came in, none of them put any money on my books. These are guys that I was willing to take a bullet for.
He knew many stayed away because of outstanding warrants, but he felt abandoned.
I felt betrayed, I felt hurt, because I'm thinking, these are the guys that I'm giving my life for,
While his street family may have abandoned him, his parents visited regularly. Over time, Mr. C became disenchanted with gang life and looked to his religion for support.
We believe in the Bible, and we believe the Book of Mormon to be another testament. So together they strengthen our belief in Jesus Christ. I picked up the Book of Mormon and read it cover to cover. And it was then that I finally made a decision that I'm gonna serve a mission. And I was gonna leave that life behind me.
Mr. C turned his back on Crippen. When he was released from jail, he told the church he wanted to serve them.
My stake president, which was my uncle at the time, had a lot of knowledge of what I had been up to. So when I went and told him of my aspirations to go serve a mission, he said, nope. He said, no way, you ain't going nowhere. He just wasn't gonna let me go. So I went above him and got the okay from one of the general authorities of the church.
Mr. C served his 2-year mission in Northern California.
If you think gangbang is hard, try a mission. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be up by 6, you gotta be to bed by 9:30. It's a grueling regimen. You're just out there, you know, spreading the word. No alcohols, no drugs. So it was a huge shift.
Mr. C was back on track. When he returned from his mission, he got married and started a family. He settled back into his old neighborhood, but found the gang violence he helped create was still raging. A rival Crip gang was hitting his hood particularly hard.
They were coming into the hood shooting us up, and with no retaliation. And so I was sitting back just thinking to myself, I was getting a little, you know, irritated, thinking, man, you know, where's the hood at? You know, what's going on?
Mr. C was feeling the pull of the streets, something all gang members know.
It's a big struggle. You have a loyalty to your family, and you have a loyalty to the streets, but you always choose the streets. I always chose the streets.
The tipping point came when a rival Crip shot up Mr. C's aunt's home. The shooter barely missed a 1-year-old who was in the house. Something inside Mr. C snapped.
I turned from returned missionary back to hardcore gangster. And in my mindset at that time, and I think it was just a buildup of everything, was we're gonna kill somebody. We're gonna kill not only somebody, we're gonna kill a truckload.
October 17th, 1998. Mr. C and a posse of TCG Crips loaded up and drove to the house where their rivals were. They broke a window and chucked 2 gallons of gasoline into the home.
And I sat back with a 12 gauge, boom! And that house just went up in flames. It was crazy. It was crazy. It blew my mind as well. I sat there and looked at that because I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting maybe a little fire and then it starts up. But as soon as I shot, it just said boom. And as soon as it boomed, it just said blew up.
Mr. C and his boys jumped back into their van and took off. As they drove away from the inferno, one of them thought he heard a baby cry.
I went and said a prayer. I was like, Heavenly Father, please don't let there be a baby. I used to be a Slav killer and a red killer, not a baby killer. You know what I'm saying?
Salt Lake City, Utah. The Crips are growing in number. What started with families fleeing LA's gang scene has evolved. Today, the Crips come here trying to avoid California's strict 3 strikes law.
They have been coming here, and they're getting away with what would be their 3rd strike in California. It's a clean slate in Utah.
With the numbers growing, the increase in bloodshed isn't far behind. The gang unit working the streets is seeing an increase in violence.
Crip gangs in Utah today are more willing to commit violence. And if an innocent person happens to be in the way, unfortunately, that doesn't stop them.
They are getting bolder. Home invasion robberies are getting more violent. Violence in general is growing. But now with the gang members that are doing beer runs, it's no longer let's just take the beer, but they're assaulting the clerks or assaulting other patrons. They've even gone as far as to use guns in beer runs and fire off rounds.
As the new recruits are stepping up, many of the older crew are stepping down, disenchanted with the life. The turning point for Dez came when he was in the pen for aggravated assault.
I sat back and just took a deep breath and had to ask myself, what is all this for? You know, is it even worth it? You know, where's your homies at now?
Sugar Bear has spent much of his life behind bars. He is currently serving a 1-year sentence for a parole violation on a robbery charge.
Probably the biggest mistake I've made in my life is the lifestyle that I've chosen.
Even so, it's the life he wanted to live.
Nothing would have stopped me. I don't think I was destined to do this, but I was determined to do this. It used to give me dignity and pride, you know, to walk around and be the biggest dude on the block, so to speak. You know, that's what I wanted.
His family continues to encourage him to find faith, but Sugar Bear has tuned them out.
I don't want to hear the preaching and, you know, you should go to church and Jesus will help you. I'd find Jesus if I ever was to look for him, but I'm not looking for him at this point in time.
He prefers to live by the Crip Creed.
Just do or die to the fullest. I think that's like an oxymoron, values and gangbanging. You know what I mean? There's none. There's no righteous, you know, cause or anything like that. Just the Crip to the fullest.
The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is coming to terms with the role it plays in many bangers' lives.
The church recognizes that there are members of the church that participate in gang activities that are members of the congregation. Denial is part of the problem. We need to own up to it. It's a wonderful thing to feel that you don't have problems in your community, but it only makes them worse.
They're working on ways to combat the problem.
We join hands with other people in the community in terms of developing facilities and programs and support people in the community, supporting the law enforcement officials, supporting government agencies that work on it.
The church still has a positive draw on some gang members. Mr. C, a Salt Lake Crip, was freshly back from his church mission when he and his crew set a rival's house ablaze. Driving away, someone said he heard a baby cry. It turned out there was no baby and no one was injured, but Mr. C was haunted by what happened. The law eventually caught up with him. Mr. C was charged with first-degree arson and was sentenced to a year in jail. On one hand, he felt badly for letting down the church. On the other hand,
I was hoping to just put that behind me, but I gotta tell you, I was very happy with the results. So that might be a little dual personality there, you know what I'm saying? You know, I want to do church, but I was actually satisfied with the results of our actions, believe it or not.
Since his parole, Mr. C says he has recommitted himself to the church and is trying to live on the straight and narrow.
I'm trying to pursue a life of church, you know, trying to follow the example of the Lord Jesus Christ.
The life of banging weighs on Mr. C, and he still struggles with his old ways.
Each and every day of my life, I feel a pull because it's an easy route. It's an easy life. I don't have to work. I can slang on the side. I can do my thing. You know, that's my comfort zone, to be honest with you. As rough as that life is, that's my comfort zone. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to be out here trying to make it in the corporate world. It's hard.
Mr. C sells cars and works with the local youth.
What I'm trying to do is try to let these kids know that, hey, in a gang, you're either gonna be 6 feet under or you're gonna be doing life in prison. That's the bottom line. I do believe that gangs is a tool of Satan to pull these kids from their potential, because Heavenly Father only wants you to reach your potential. That's all He wants you to do.
It's a message that seems to be lost on the Salt Lake Crips.
More violence is coming. I believe you will continue to see lives lost.
The greatest influence and power in street gangs is cripping. I don't see cripping stopping anywhere no time soon, because right now as we speak, probably some kids putting in some kind of work right now.